Flight attendants, prepare for takeoff, please.
Merry Christmas,
Jesus Christ.
Peter. Jesus Christ indeed is
Happy
upon
birthday,
us.
Jesus Christ.
Merry Christmas, everybody following and listening along. We hope you're enjoying your holidays wherever you are in the world.
It's rather wet here at the moment, isn't it?
It is a little wet here
Bit
in
miserable.
Australia. It's a pretty mild December.
Very, very humid.
Humid. We've had a bit of rain. Not super hot. Thankfully, no bushfires.
To start,
That is the good silver lining to
although
the...
I think there's some flooding in northern New South Wales.
We'll take flooding over fires.
Okay.
Just for something different this year.
Right.
Just to mix it up. A couple of days out from Christmas, Pete, and I'm very excited for this episode because today, Pete and Al are discussing Christmas traditions.
The weird, the wacky,
wonderful.
the wonderful.
The awesome,
Yep,
the new, the old,
yep.
Christmas traditions and cultures from around the world. Now, this episode was born many years ago, in my mind, out of the fact that I was lucky enough to live in Japan for a time, and I lived there mostly through the winter season, which
Christmas.
obviously Christmas fell into. And even before I lived there, I'd heard of this Japanese Christmas tradition. And I don't know even if I quite believed it. I wanted to see it and believe it for myself with my own eyes before I actually knew this was true. And didn't just feel like someone was pulling my leg and having me on.
Right.
But it is the fact I was told, and then I got to experience firsthand, that in Japan, they eat KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, on Christmas Eve for Christmas dinner.
On Christmas Eve for Christmas dinner, the Japanese eat Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Correct.
They eat the kernel.
They eat the kernel. They love the kernel. They go in for some secret herbs and spices.
How the devil has that come about?
Right? So the first time I heard about this, I was like, no way, you're pulling my leg, you're having me on.
Yeah,
this is a joke.
That's a strange tradition.
And then over the time, as I met Japanese people and kind of looked into it, turns out there might be some legs to this, that it actually might be true. And then I got lucky enough to go and live and work in Japan, and it was over the winter. And so I was not going to miss my opportunity to experience KFC on Christmas Eve the Japanese way whilst I was living there. So I ventured to Tokyo, and it actually was quite a struggle to find a KFC that was even open
On Christmas Eve.
on Christmas Eve. And that is because it became blaringly obvious that the rumor, that the culture, the tradition is so true that the KFCs are overwhelmed at Christmas. A lot of them close and only do pre-orders.
Wow.
You can't just walk in like you normally would and get takeaway. You have to pre-order your KFC because it is in such high demand, because it's so popular, because it's the culture. It's the thing to do.
So, if you're just some average Joe who'd gone to Japan over the winter and
Didn't do his research.
didn't listen to this very podcast, and you just wanted a cheeky KFC on Christmas Eve, no dice.
Can't get it.
Spewing.
You'll be disappointed.
Yeah.
We must have walked around Tokyo for a while, must have tried to get into 2 or 3 different KFCs, and maybe on the 4th attempt, we actually found one that was open and
Right.
was serving to the public.
Was it brimming?
You know how busy it was?
How busy?
We lined up to get our KFC
God.
for an hour. An hour to get our KFC.
I've never waited an hour for food ever. I don't
But that
think.
was the most fun lineup of my life because I felt so immersed in the Japanese culture,
Yeah, it's true.
in the Japanese Christmas tradition. I loved it. I could have stood there for many hours. So I was standing in line, full of Japanese, chatting to the people in front of me, chatting to the people behind me. At the time, I was making little vlogs and recorded it all, and it was a very surreal experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. Was there Christmas hats involved?
No Christmas hats,
Decorations or anything?
a little bit of decorations, kind of some tinsel and sort of Christmas tree-like decorations around
Yeah.
the place. So yeah, there was a little bit of Christmassy decorations.
But not like your overboard, like shopping centres over here where it's just
Not
like
full on, no,
chaos
not
of-
crazy over the top.
So I guess the big question is, how did this come about?
I know, right? Why?
Yeah,
why
why? How
on
and
earth,
why?
Japan, why?
You've got like sushi and all that delicious stuff. Why would you go with KFC?
It's an interesting one, isn't it?
Mm.
So supposedly, from what I have been told and what I have looked into and researched, at the end of World War II,
Blimey.
Back to the back in my day.
Jesus.
At the end of World War II, in the 1940s, Japan and the USA had come to blows during the war and weren't best of friends after that.
No.
But time heals all wounds. And chicken and heals chicken. Time brings chicken. Chicken comes to all those who wait. Eventually, the Japanese and the Americans put the past in the past and started to become friends again, started to trade again. And the Japanese had a real hunger for American popular culture.
I think a lot of the world did too, didn't they?
Indeed. So things like listening to Beatles records, getting Levi jeans, McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, all of these Americana type things. A lot of the world who hadn't had them, had sort of been closed off to them, all of a sudden could have access to them and wanted them. And so I guess it was a bigger picture of kind of the American style of capitalism and consumerism. They wanted to consume all these popular culture things. One of the things that Japan started to adopt was the tradition of Christmas itself. Because, of course, Japan is mostly a Buddhist country, and so they don't celebrate Christmas. But they decided they wanted to be as American as possible and started adopting these American traditions and these American holidays and all the little things that come with it, like giving of gifts, and that sort of is where it was all born. And so the Japanese took on Christmas, obviously not in a religious sense, but in the kind of spend it with a friend or a family members, and give a few gifts and celebrate and buy some things. And it was your chance just to, really tap into some Western Americana ideals and traditions and gift giving and that sort of thing. At the same time, they adopted all the American fast food chains, so Pizza Hut, McDonald's, and KFC. And then somewhere along the line, communication got a little mixed up, and the Japanese people mistakenly thought that the Colonel, with his older style and white beard.
White hair, white beard.
They thought that Colonel Sanders of KFC, they mistook him as Santa Claus.
I mean, yeah, if he takes his hat off, Santa, the Colonel.
It's an easy mistake to make.
Yeah,
you can
that.
Understand.
Yeah.
Lost in the language, bad translation.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the Japanese think that the Colonel is Santa Claus. And so, of course, logically, where would you go for your Christmas dinner?
Where Santa eats.
Than Santa's restaurant.
How long until they realised it was not Santa, do you reckon?
That is a good question.
I suppose if it became a tradition, quite some time.
From my talking to the Japanese people, it's unclear as to at what point this tradition was adopted and for how long it continued, unaware that they had made the mistake, and then at what point they figured out the mistake. But obviously it was long enough for them to be like, oh, well, it's kind of ingrained enough now.
We'll stick with it.
We'll stick with it.
Do you reckon they saw like Southern folk who'd gone to visit Japan and been like, Santa?
Perhaps in the early days, yes. Some American business people went there and either dropped the seeds, maybe they were marketing gurus for KFC and decided to go to Japan and try and get a jump on McDonald's and tell everyone that he's actually Santa Claus.
Maybe.
And sales boomed.
Smart move.
It's a very smart move.
Profitable.
Or perhaps some Americans were visiting there and just not wanting to break the spirit of the Japanese. They didn't have the heart to tell them that they had made the mistake and just thought, it's a harmless mistake.
Yeah.
Let them run with it. I'm not going to be the one to break their ideal and have their world come crashing down.
You don't want to be that guy. So.
You don't want to be that guy. So it's hung around to this day that the Japanese, I guess they all know that Colonel Sanders is not in fact Santa Claus.
Yep.
But the tradition has been around long enough that it continues on. And people either pre-order their KFC or they go out to the stores like I did and lined up with those other Japanese people there in Tokyo for an hour.
What'd you get? Yeah, I was going to ask.
To be honest, I think there was a pretty limited menu. Okay. I think we only got drumsticks.
Oh, okay.
I have a feeling that and maybe fries and one or two other items were all that was on offer. Yeah, okay. Because the line was crazy long. There's a good chance that they kind of narrowed it down and said, we're just selling these four items.
Just pump out.
And pumping them out through the door as quickly as they can. Even at the door, they were selling it at the door cold. Oh. But it came in a box with a big sticker and a label on it saying that this has been semi-cooked, but it's not ready to eat now. It's not like for takeaway. It's for you to take home. You have to microwave it or cook it or fry it or blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, so...
Wow.
That was a pretty exciting Christmas for me. It's one of my favourite stories to tell people about my travels, about Christmas traditions, about my time living in Japan. I think it's just such a quirky, fun, cool story.
That is quite the opposite to what you'd expect, right? Over here, if somebody told me like we're going to have KFC for like our Christmas Eve dinner, I'd be like, "You're having a laugh, aren't you? I want a nice home cooked meal."
That's one of many Christmas traditions and cultures that we can discuss today. Another one that you know of, Pete, that you got to experience firsthand.
Yes, was when I was traveling Europe. I was in Austria. I was in Innsbruck, to be precise, and I'd heard about this before. The tradition of the Krampus, who is a horned kind of beast. He's got kind of like big goat horns and a big goat beard, but I think he's got a bit of a human face as well. I think there's probably many depictions over the centuries of the Krampus. But basically, he was the partner of Santa. He was the partner of jolly old Saint Nick. And if you were a naughty child, the Krampus would come. I believe it's the 5th of December is Krampus night, or Krampusnacht, if you speak in German. But he would come and he would take away all the naughty children, or threaten to take them away for being naughty, and it was an incentive to get the little kids to be good. Now, when you're in Austria, people like to dress up as the Krampus. So you get these people dressed up with these big woolly suits on, like a big beast suit, and they wear these huge wooden carved out Krampus heads. They're quite terrifying, actually. And they wear cowbells around their waist, so you can hear them coming. Then when you walk around the streets, you can hear the cowbells, and out of nowhere, these Krampus come, and then they go and whip you with, I think it's wicker or something, like a long stick. They whip you with them, and it is quite hilarious to see all the tourists who obviously see this commotion and think, if they don't know about it, think, I'm going to take photos of this. This is crazy. And then obviously the Krampus see this as a hilarious situation to be in, and then carry on whipping said tourists. It's all quite crazy, but enjoyable and terrifying at the same time. When you're walking around doing your Christmas shopping and you hear these cowbells, you just think, shit, get out of here. Next minute, there's a horde of Krampus running around.
That is a very unique tradition indeed.
Yeah.
Almost feels like it has like a pre-Christian element to it, like a pagan.
It's definitely a pagan thing.
I guess it almost feels like it has a bit of a magical element to it. It is
very mythical, mythological.
I actually got to experience a mini version of it when I was living in Austria, a small little town that I used to live in. I think some local people had their outfits and they put on a little show. It was a very tame, mild version of it. And so only in preparing for this podcast had I realized that the full version is so much bigger and more full on and has that violent element to it of the hitting with the sticks.
Yeah.
And so, again, in preparation for this podcast, I got in touch with a very good Austrian friend of mine, Victoria, in Tyrol, and she sent through some voice messages.
Oh, cool.
Giving some details on the running of the devil, or the Krampus. So let's have a little listen to what Victoria has to say.
Hey mate, how are you? Obviously this year it doesn't work out because of COVID. Normally in Austria, every town normally has it's called a pass, which is a group of Krampus, which are the devils. And they make their costumes themselves. They make the masks themselves. They're all carved out of wood. So it's actually a big talent if you can make a mask, because it takes a lot of work. And every mask is an individual, and it's actually art. And the fur comes from actually goats. They use goat fur, and they make their costume. So some kind of fur. It is actually true that they hit people. In the old days when I was a kid, it was very common. Obviously they go around and hit you. And the old tradition comes from actually tomorrow Saint Nicholas is coming. So Saint Nicholas always brings an angel, or he brings a devil. And for those kids who haven't been good over the years or over the year, they get hit by the devil, And those who have been good, they get a present by St. Nicholas. So that's where it comes from. But obviously the tradition got bigger and bigger. And like I said, there was those groups who started off making big shows and stuff and doing the Devil's Run, which is actually on the 5th of December and in the evening. And they also have cowbells. So once everyone is in town and once you hear the big bells coming, you know they're coming running for you. But obviously these days, because there's been so many injuries in the past, these days every devil has to have a number. And you can see the number. So if you actually get hit too bad or if you get like really bad bruises, you can actually go to the police and record him by the number of the devil. So these days the devils are a bit more cautious about that. They don't want to get in trouble, so they don't really hit you badly anymore. But yeah, obviously there was bad injuries in the old days. Obviously the devils are getting very drunk before they start off running. So yeah, it's a fun tradition I grew up with. It's a crazy tradition for you guys, I guess. These days they have fences. So the devils are in a safe area and the people are around it. So it's not as fun anymore as it used to be in the old days. The old days didn't have any fences. What they used to hit you is actually a cow's tail. So they cut off the tail of a cow, obviously a dead one already, and they use that to hit you. They usually make it wet because usually there's snow around. So they make it wet before they hit you, so it hurts you more. But in the old days, actually, when I was a kid, they still had chains. So they used to hit you with metal and chains. So that was way more painful than the cow's tail. But a good trick is what we always used to do when we go devils running. We always wore like 3 pants on top of each other, and we also wear some ski pants, so you didn't really feel too much. And actually, just to tell you as well, every town or every certain region of Tyrol has a different tradition as well. Up towards Innsbruck, they have black men coming with the devils. They paint you black, like with shoe cream, into your face and on your jackets. And sometimes they also take witches. They come as well with them. So there's different traditions in every area of Tyrol about the devil's running. All right, guys. Hope you're good. Hope to invite you soon for a devil's run one day.
There you have it.
There we go.
From Austrians themselves.
Thanks, Vicky. Thanks for the message.
When I was there was definitely no fences. It was just free reign.
Full on.
Free reign Krampuses running the streets. There was even like little kids dressed up as Krampuses. It was pretty funny.
So from what I gather, it's one time a year that drunk Austrians, assuming the parents of the kids, get to get as blonde as they want, dressed up to hide their identity,
and beat tourists.
and run around with sticks and beat people up to the point that they have to have numbers on them to be able to report them to the police if the injuries are too much.
Man, that is glorious. Who would not get involved in that? If
that
I was Austrian,
great fun.
Like, why would you not want to put on the suit of a demon and run around the street beating people? Sounds hilarious.
Now, a few others that I have here on the list. Of course, Australian Christmas traditions that are unique to Australia, whilst we think they're normal, they are quite unique to Australia. I guess the fact that it's summer here.
It's a hot climate. Yeah, it's a hot thing.
So we don't do the snow that you see in Britain, in Europe, in the States, in the movies and the TV shows.
A lot of people still seem to like spray their windows with fake snow over here, which
to
me has always baffled me because...
What makes Australian Christmas traditions all the more weird is that we're in a hot climate. That's weird to begin with for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But then we still try to pretend or follow some of these northern hemisphere cold climate Christmas traditions of putting up pine trees and then spraying it with fake snow and spraying your window sills around your house with fake snow. We still have reindeer, which of course we don't have
definitely
here.
Don't have reindeer. Of course, we eat seafood on Christmas Day.
That is another big
traditional Christmas lunch in Australia is all cold seafood. And I remember telling my cousin who lives in the UK, telling him about Christmas in Australia and telling him that it was hot over here, and he did not believe me. He was quite young at the time, but he just couldn't fathom that it was we have Christmas sat around the barbie outside with like shorts on and nothing else because it's 35 degrees usually.
Exactly. It's an outdoor occasion.
Yeah.
And the climate obviously allows that, whereas in the Northern Hemisphere, people don't really go outside that much on Christmas Day. You spend it inside, around the fire, around the table.
Like stir crazy my first Christmas in the UK because you're just inside because it's bloody freezing outside.
When you do your first white Christmas, it is very different because the day is short. You know, the sun's coming up 8 or 9 in the morning, going down at 4.
Yeah, true.
So it's a very short day as opposed to the long days that we get here of sunshine and warmth. You spend most of your white Christmas inside, unless you're a visitor, it's your first one and you're excited and you want to spend it
Just
outside in the actual white.
Yeah.
But here we spend it obviously outside a lot of the time.
Getting a sunburn.
Getting sunburnt. We go to the beach.
Yep.
We have a swim. We play at the sand. We play backyard games. For us, a lot of backyard cricket.
Number one backyard
and other
cricket.
games, swimming in the pool, in the backyard pool, if you're lucky enough to have one. We'll eat outside on the deck, the veranda, the porch, in the garden. So, yeah. And because of that warm climate, obviously, we're drinking a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of our Christmas traditional food is not always as many hot items as they would have in the Northern Hemisphere. So, cold ham is a common one.
Very common.
And seafood is a very Australian thing to have
Prawns
at Christmas.
is like the go-to, isn't it?
But that's very weird for a lot of Northern Hemisphere people to have seafood at Christmas. But here in Australia, very common, especially if you live by the coast. Sydney markets, for example, their busiest day or days, their busiest week of trade is the lead up to Christmas, selling lots of seafood. And as you say, in particular, prawns are the hot ticket item to have on the Christmas table.
All about the seafood.
Seafood is a very, very common one. I think most people would agree that is at least a majority, a stereotype, a tradition of the food on the food front.
Seafood and beer.
In your family, do you have any Cook family Christmas traditions that are specific to your family?
That's a good question. I don't know. When I was a kid growing up, everybody always just came to our house. And the whole family would always come to ours. It would always be a barbecue for breakfast. We'd get up in the morning, open our presents, and then it was a barbecue brekkie. Your sausages, your bacon, your eggs, your Tommies, all on the barbecue. And then it was a matter of usually mum and my auntie getting in the kitchen and us kids just ravaging all our new toys. And then the whole fam came around and we had Christmas lunch. Everybody got drunk and that was about it. Is there any McLeod?
There is one that's worth mentioning, yeah. It started 10 years ago, maybe a bit more, maybe a bit less, but it's been going on for quite a while now. It was, we also, being on, having a bit of property, growing up on the property, on the farm, we had a bit of room, so we would usually play host to the Christmas celebration, so a lot of people would come to our place, and it meant that, 20, 30, 40 people sometimes over for Christmas. And it meant that there was always that underlying pressure, expectation to buy presents for everybody. You've got 20 or 30 or 40 people coming. Who do you buy gifts for? Who don't you buy gifts for? It's a lot of money if you're buying gifts for everybody. What do you get all these people? Some of them are long-lost aunties and cousins and family friends that, you maybe don't know that well enough to be like, well, what do I get this person? So we found that every year, it would be a lot of money spent that was kind of wasted, that was kind of just being spent because you felt you had to. You felt obligated. It was a lot of, I guess, extra and unwanted stress and pressure and expectation. Also would chew up a lot of time that you'd have to go out and buy all these gifts, especially at the Christmas rush. And you're often buying stuff and you're giving them crap that, they politely say, oh, thank you very much. And then a week later, it gets thrown in the bin. So we decided one year to do away with gift giving, no pressure. And simply we would do a Secret Santa.
Oh, yeah.
So all the family names, everybody's name, everybody who was attending Christmas that year, all the names of the attendees would go into a hat. And everybody, say a month out from Christmas, say on the 1st of December, would get allocated one name of someone else who was attending, and we set a limit. We set a monetary limit on how much you can spend, and you had to buy that person a fancy dress outfit.
Oh, nice.
and you would gift it to them, or Secret Santa would gift it to them on Christmas Day in the morning, mid-morning, and everybody would have to don their fancy dress, silly dress-up outfit and wear it for Christmas Day.
That's awesome. I love it.
And so it provided for great laughs.
Yeah, good photos.
Great photos. So we've got a photo of every year consecutively of everybody in their fancy dress and all the different people who were there for that Christmas looking equally as silly. Made for good laughs. Usually we would buy the outfits from an opportunity shop, from a thrift shop, which is already aligned with the charity. So a Vinnie's or a Salvo's or a Lifeline. And so that's good as well.
Yeah, good cause.
And then usually the clothes, unless you got really nice clothes that you maybe wanted to keep, but usually the idea was to make the person look as silly as possible and as funny as possible. Usually, post-Christmas, you would donate them back anyway.
It's perfect.
And so the money that you spent buying that outfit worked out to be a donation.
Yep.
And then we would also set up a little charity where if you wanted to, you can add some money to it. So
perfect.
Over Christmas, if everybody chucked in $5 or $10 or $20 or whatever they could afford, whatever they wanted to, we'd pool money together and make a donation to a charity, and that would be our Christmas gift. In return, you'd receive the warm fuzzies of laughter at the
Doing
outfits and the pat on the back for doing something good.
Jeez.
Rather than, wasting money on consumer crap and all the extra pressure and time and just all that. Let's cut all that out. Let's just do a one Secret Santa, make it funny, have a laugh, and maybe support charities and other people who are doing it tough, who probably could do with the money a bit more than us or than some, department store where we go and waste the money anyway.
I like it. Way to make my family feel like shit about it. All you do-gooders over at the McLeod clan.
So if anyone else wants to adopt the saintly McLeod tradition, you're more than welcome to.
If you want to adopt the cork one as well, you can too. You just
combine the two.
Yeah. Maybe that's probably a good one.
So that's a good little family tradition that we have.
I like it.
Now, there's been a few times where I haven't been able to be home to celebrate Christmas with my family, and I've been out on the road tour guiding, as my job is, and I've been tour guiding groups over Christmas, and I've been away from the family, and so the tour group becomes my adopted family for Christmas. And I am their adopted family for Christmas. We're all each other's. And I tell them this story about how we do this Secret Santa fancy dress tradition at my home, and put forward the idea that while I'm not home to do it, would the group like to take on this tradition? And we can do a Christmas dinner together, and we can do this Secret Santa fancy outfit, fancy dress thing. And so I've done it a few times with groups that I've had, and it's gone down a treat. People really enjoyed it, especially if you've got the group, a week or so out where you've got some time to propose the idea, let it sink in, and then give them time, or even, if it allows, take the group to some of those big thrift shops, those big Salvo stores, or those big Vinnie stores. I remember once we were having the Christmas dinner in Byron Bay. We've been coming down from Cairns, down the east coast of Australia. We'd been together for well over a week, maybe 10 days, 11 days. And on the way down from the Gold Coast, I looked into it, and there were two big thrift shops, like the kind of big department-y kind of warehouse ones on the Gold Coast, two right next to each other, a Vinnie's and a Lifeline or something like that. And so we left a little earlier to give ourselves time. We pulled up the bus, and we let 48 people, gave them 45 minutes just to run an absolute muck through these two stores, run in, grab everything you need, get all your fancy dress outfits, get all your bits and pieces, get prepared, because obviously in 2 nights' time, Christmas Eve, we're going to have our dinner, and you're going to have to give your outfit and dress that person, and it's going to go down. And the outfits that came out were fantastic. There were so many funny ones. Everyone got right into it. Everyone looked really silly, made for really good photos. Obviously, a lot of these people were from the Northern Hemisphere, so it was their first time experiencing a summer Christmas.
Yeah.
And so we did a barbecue, and we had seafood, and we had the McLeod tradition of the fancy dress outfits, and everybody really enjoyed it. We had a good drink and a good laugh. I particularly remember there was one French-Canadian guy. Nice guy, but I remember the girl that got to pick his outfit picked probably one of the more ridiculous outfits. Bought him a little pink tutu skirt, some fishnet pink stockings,
Beautiful.
some pink like angel butterfly wings to wear on the back,
Nice.
a pink like fluffy boa to wear around his neck, some a little princess crown, a little tiara, and a little pack of makeup. And the girls went to town doing his lips and his
Yes.
eyes, and there was one point I remember that everyone obviously was laughing at him, with him, and he felt that everybody was laughing at him. And I went over and said, you're doing great. Give him a little pep talk.
Good on you, buddy.
You could see he was almost about to pack it in and be like, this isn't fun for me. Everyone's just laughing at me. You're taking the piss out of me. And I went over and said, you're doing great. Like, play along with it.
It's all in the spirit.
I said, have a look. You've got 5 girls at the moment fussing over you.
Yeah, enjoy it.
Look at it from that angle. And if you pack it in now and throw a tantrum, you're not going to look very good. But if you go along with it, the girls are going to think you're absolutely ace because you went along with it and played up to their, the joke. There's nothing girls love more than dressing up and putting makeup on a guy, funnily enough.
That is true.
They really quite enjoy it.
Do, don't they?
In a strange roundabout way.
Yeah.
And so if you play along, you're getting a lot of good brownie points. You're getting some gold stars there.
Yeah, definitely.
They might come back to...
They might help clean you up later.
They might help a bit later on. So after our barbecue and after our fancy dress and a good drink, there was one guy. We had I'm pretty sure he was Japanese, a guy in the group. And he went and made the outfit.
Wow.
He went and got cardboard box and a whole big roll of aluminium tin foil, or aluminum, as the North Americans call it. And he made a full-on, like, medieval knight's outfit.
What? That's awesome.
Full with, like, leg and, like, sort of leg padding and arm padding and a chest guard kind of thing. Made the box was like a helmet with the slit through it, like a Monty Python style, like the old arch with the slit for the eyes and the head.
Yep.
And with a sword, the cardboard wrapped in tin foil. There's a sword.
That's amazing.
And it looked fantastic. And so he made that. And then the person that he got given to dress was another girl in the group. So she was dressed as this medieval knight, which looked fantastic. And then the best part was 10:30, 11 o'clock at night after our barbecue, after a few drinks, we went over the road to the nightclub in Byron Bay to party on and see In Christmas at midnight. So here's 45 people walking down the street, led by the knight and this fairy guy, this cross-dressing fairy guy, walking down the street going into the nightclub. And we were obviously, the talk of the place. We looked so good. Everyone's like, what are you guys dressed up as? We're having our Christmas party and we're doing fancy dress and we're into the nightclub and we're having a great time. And then I remember that we obviously had a good dance and a party and a drink. And I vaguely, the only recollection I have of about 2 a.m. was seeing our knight had met a guy and was in the corner with him, getting friendly with him. And I just distinctly remember seeing this guy getting kissed and mauled by this medieval knight outfit. And of course, there was only us in the group who knew who that was. Everyone else was like, what is going on?
Over
There's a medieval knight taking advantage of that poor boy over there up against the corner. Oh, it was great fun. So
sounds like a good laugh.
That was a good one. Yeah, that was a good one. I guess around the world, there's some other very sort of localized or national traditions. In the UK in particular, and for Commonwealth countries, the Queen's Christmas speech, the Christmas message.
You have to watch the Christmas message in the UK.
Is a big thing that they love to do, yep. Americans obviously have their Christmas traditions, but I guess they're a bit newer, and they seem to be a lot more around consuming, gift giving. You spend a lot of money on sort of like the exterior kind of like looks, like the aesthetics of Christmas in the USA. One thing I noticed, having spent a couple of Christmases in the USA, is, to my shock and surprise, that Christmas crackers, bonbons, as some people call them, are not commonplace, not even known of. In the USA, they don't have Christmas crackers and bonbons at Christmas. It's not a common thing.
I suppose we do because we are of that Commonwealth.
It must be a British thing.
Do they do it in Canada?
I don't know. I haven't spent a Christmas in Canada.
Yeah, because they're Commonwealth, aren't they?
Yeah. Be interesting to find out.
Canadians, let us know.
Let us know. But I was blown away when many people in the States didn't know what Christmas crackers or bonbons were. And so...
That's like Christmas here, right? Like, you can't have Christmas without it.
Right.
Because you get the hat, you get the joke, you get the shitty toy.
That is like one important sort of almost part of the ceremony of Christmas dinner is sitting down and cracking your crackers, reading your jokes, putting your hat on before dinner is served, before you can start eating.
Yeah.
You've got to have your hat on. You've got to have read your joke.
Even to the point now where there's like super expensive ones you can buy that have
really
like
fancy
legit nice presents in them and like stuff like that. Where we still adopt the $5.
Cheaper the better.
Yeah.
Cheaper the better.
You want that toy that's going to last about 2 minutes or that.
Worse of the joke, shittier the toy.
Yeah.
That's how you know you're at a good...
That's a good one.
Working class Christmas.
Yeah. A good blue-collar Chrissy.
A good blue-collar Chrissy. I did find them in shops, but it took me a few shops and searching to actually find them. And they were like only a few packets and they were kind of tucked away. You know, it wasn't a thing. And so when I got the packet, everyone could ask me, what is that? What have you got? What have you got? And I'm like, crackers. And they're like, crackers? Like fireworks? I'm like, no, Christmas crackers. And I was like, bonbons, you probably call them. Still blank faces. No idea what they were. So I had to take them to a dinner, put them out, and explain
the whole situation.
They give a whole spiel, a whole rundown, safety talk. What do you do?
Don't hurt yourself.
Watch me. I'll do it. You repeat after me on how to do it. And they were all like, oh, that's nice. That's something different, isn't it? And I'm like, you guys are missing this.
Did you show them the cheat way to usually win when you grab the, you
grab
the inside? On the inside?
Pop your thumb on the inside. No, I didn't show them that to make sure that I won all the time.
Smart move.
But Christmas crackers, bonbons, I was blown away. I was like, for sure they would be the world over, and especially in the States where you feel like any chance to do anything big, fun, spend more money wouldn't go amiss on the Americans. But Christmas crackers, no idea what they were. The last two Christmas traditions that I have heard of, haven't experienced myself, but friends from these areas have told me about, and I thought, that's weird, that's whack, that's got to go on a podcast. People need to know about this. That's too good to not share.
I'm excited.
And the first is the Swedish tradition, and I think more broadly it extends also out into the Scandinavian area of on Christmas Eve, I think it is, the 24th. The tradition is to sit down every Christmas at the same time. I think it's always like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. They play the same Disney episode of Donald Duck. And everybody gathers in quiet concentration to sit and watch this one particular episode of Donald Duck every year at a set time, and it's always played by the oldest, the most established television network in Sweden.
Right.
So I was able to track down a Swedish friend of mine, Olivia.
Okay.
Olivia was kind enough to send in a voice message so we could hear it from a true Swede. Let's have a listen to what she said.
First of all, like Swedish Christmas is celebrated a little bit differently than what you usually see, sort of the American traditions. For instance, we celebrate Christmas Eve on the 24th and not so much Christmas Day on the 25th. I think one of the most important, one of the most interesting and kind of odd Christmas tradition we have is on the 24th. So when we celebrate Christmas, the whole family gathers around to watch one show. This program is sent only on the 24th at 3 p.m. And it's a Donald Duck. In Swedish is Kalle Anka och hans vänner önskar god jul. Donald Duck and his friends wishes you a good Christmas. So it's like an hour program. And it started sending in Sweden on Christmas Eve in the 60s, 1960. There's sort of a lot of different smaller clips from it. It's a Disney, it's made from Disney, I think. So it's Donald Duck, and you have like Benjamin Cricket is the main host of the program. So you have Mickey Mouse, Pluto, what else? You have a lot of like different shows. It's like in Santa's Workshop is one tiny little program section. So you have all these smaller movie clips. You have Ferdinand, you have Robin Hood, you have Snow White, and you have Mickey Mouse on Camping, which is also a small show. These smaller clips, they haven't changed since basically the 90s. Basically, the whole idea of them have been the same since the 60s. This show doesn't change. It's always the same. And I think I can remember, I've seen this show since I was very small. I think I've seen it since maybe I was 3 years old. So I kind of remember every scene of this show. And for some reason, this show it was just a very simple thing. It's just stuck in the Swedish household tradition, sort of. I think it's because of it being quite new, but as well as quite old. For instance, if people were born in the late 60s, they grew up with watching this. And so for them, it's sort of a nostalgic feeling watching it again. And for me as well, since I've grown up with it, and I'm 23 years old now, I still watch it every Christmas because it's sort of a nostalgic feeling. But nowadays, I think also a lot of the ones that grew up with it, they have kids on their own, and they are sort of kept this tradition going with watching this show with their kids. Yeah, but it's I think almost like half of the Swedish population watched. I think for like international people, as a Swede, when you talk about this tradition, people seem to think it's a little bit weird, but I do recommend watching it. It's very calming, sort of. You feel happy watching it. It's a lot of fun. A lot of the clips, the smaller clips, are very fun usually. I think it's I hope it still stays with us. I usually make my parents watch it with me nowadays. So yeah, we'll see if it keeps on going. And it's pretty interesting to have a tradition about a program and not a tradition about any food specific kind of thing. So it's a pretty fun tradition, and I hope you will experience it someday, or at least I recommend you to watch it. And it's called From All of Us to All of You, but you have to watch it when it's dubbed to Swedish, otherwise it's not good. Because the one that does the dubbing in Swedish from the English to Swedish, so it's sort of you hear the English behind, and then the Swedish voice is added on top, and that's kind of bad editing, but it's so bad that it makes it good, if you know what I mean. It's bad to the point where it's just cozy to hear. And it's very Christmas, and it hasn't changed. So you hear those like crackling sounds from the recording. I recommend you to watch it, and I look forward to hearing the different traditions from around the world. It's very interesting to hear these sort of things. I guess that's it for me. Thank you for listening.
There you go, Pete.
There it is. Straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, fantastic insight there from Olivia from
thanks,
Sweden.
Olivia.
Thanks, Olivia. First off, the Swedish accent
Great.
is fantastic. You know, from all of us to all of you in English, but then when she says it in the Swedish version,
What?
it's fantastic. It's like she's singing. Thank you, Olivia. So I reckon that's, again, kind of like the KFC in Japan. It's such a cool, quirky, kind of cute, harmless, really fun little tradition that, again, I've did some quick reading, and it kind of was born out of just a bit of a haphazard sort of thing. It wasn't meant to be a Christmas tradition that would last this long. And in fact, TV1, that main public television channel in Sweden, a few times throughout its history in the 70s in particular, tried to actually take the show down and stop airing it on the 24th.
Anarchy.
But there was public outcry, and they had to make sure that it was back on. Otherwise, they were going to get, riots in the street and burn down their headquarters. So supposedly, when Swedes first got television in the 1950s was when it first was aired in 1959. And back then, it was when Swedes were just starting to get televisions in their homes, and there was only one TV station. And so they first showed this From All of Us to All of You, and the TV channel just started playing it at 3 p.m. on December 24th every year, it seems like that they didn't have heaps of content to play, especially heaps of Swedish content to play. And so when they could get a hold of international, and it was mostly either probably British or American content, they would put it on. Mm-hmm. And so back then, that was Swedes' only chance to watch cartoons. So people got really excited and looked forward to watching that every year. And I also read that it's blasphemy. People don't watch this
on
any other day.
It's only a Christmas Eve.
You only watch it on Christmas Eve on the 24th at 3 p.m. You don't...
a bad luck thing.
You don't record it to watch it another time. You don't go online now. You wait for Christmas Eve, the 24th, and watch it then and
I'll
there.
have to get it and watch it on Christmas Eve here.
Well, I believe you can find online YouTube and stuff, so we'll post a link to it in our Facebook group and page and on whatever other social so people can go and check it out.
And don't watch it on the 23rd. Definitely.
Make sure you save it for the 24th. Yeah. But it's really, really cool. I love that. I love that. It. And like she said, supposedly the statistics support what Olivia said, that a bit over half of the country, the entire country, sit down and watch it at 3 p.m.
Love it.
Yeah.
That's a good tradition, that one.
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, it's good.
So Olivia, thanks very much for sending in that message. One last one. On the Facebook page, I posted requesting people to write in with their Christmas traditions. And this one came in, and it's about a Spanish Christmas tradition, in particular in Catalan. And this one is, well, there's actually 3. Let me go through them because I'm reading off an article here that I was sent. So I didn't know about this Christmas tradition, but because it involves pooping, I thought... Because it involves bother, we've got to get this in.
To be done.
So a lot of people wrote in, and we thank everybody who did write in. A lot of great Christmas traditions, but this one, obviously, I thought I've definitely got to include this one.
I'm intrigued.
So it says, Catalan Christmas traditions. The shitter, the pooping log, and the 3 wise men. Supposedly you buy and place a pooping figurine dressed in the traditional Catalan hat in your nativity scene.
Oh.
You know, the scene of the baby in the manger.
So
and the
while baby Jesus is just chilling, there's someone having a poo.
There is an extra character in the Catalan nativity scene, and it is of a gentleman in a traditional Catalan hat taking a dump with his strides down around his ankles. So why? The obvious question is why. Let's read on and see.
When you gotta go, you gotta go. Is that what it's about?
Okay, so it's called LCAGANER. Cajanger in a Spanish accent, probably saying it not very accurately, but anyway, it literally translates as the shitter or crapper. It is traditionally a pagan tradition mixed obviously with more modern Christian traditions. It is a small figurine that is usually placed on nativity scenes around Catalan for some added fun. The figure started to officially appear on most nativities in the 17th century and was widely spread by the 19th century. Usually, he is a peasant and wears the traditional Catalan attire: black trousers, white shirt, red hat, and belt. The origin of the word and the figurine is disputed, but it is believed to be the result of a figurine manufacturer with a good sense of humour.
A great sense of humour, I'd say.
Great sense of humour. Traditionally, when families would build the nativity scene, there would be a time when someone would ask if El Crapper has already been added. This refers to the baby Jesus, who, like any baby, basically just ate, slept, and pooped. From then on, figurine makers probably thought it would be funny to create a pooping figurine to mock one of the villagers in his own town, and the tradition stuck. Because El Crapper is fertilizing the soil, it is believed to be a symbol of prosperity and good luck for the coming year. Fertilizing, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
Sowing good seeds for a growth and prosperous future. Today, the crapper are added for fun and are made to resemble caricatures of politicians, footballers, personalities, celebrities, from the likes of Obama to the Dalai Lama.
Oh, that is so good.
Now, there is also, there's 2 actually in this article. There's El Crapper that we've just spoken about, and then there is also a pooping log.
Okay,
Catalan Christmas tradition number 2. The pooping log,
number
or caga-tio. Caga? That must mean poop,
Caca.
I'm guessing. Yeah, but it's C-A-G-A.
Oh,
Kaka?
maybe.
Maybe we're just all saying it wrong. We're saying it like kaka.
But it's
There's a kaga.
maybe.
Maybe. Kaga Tio. T-I-O. And there's a cute little picture of a log that's got like a fleece around it, a red bow, a hat, and a face painted on the front, and it's got like a little peg sticking out of the stump as a nose. I'll paste it in the Facebook group.
Please do.
Okay, on the 8th of December, kids from all over Catalan either scavenge for or buy a pine tree log, which they keep at home. They keep it warm and feed it, in inverted commas, feed it until Christmas Eve, in the hope that with a full stomach, it will poop them lots of gifts.
Okay.
The log is kept warm with a blanket, and parents will make sure the food left in front of it disappears every day. On the 24th of December, the log comes out to poop.
What the hell?
The event is quite an interesting one. Kids will get a stick and go to another room to wet the stick with water. In the meantime, in the other room, parents place gifts under the log's blanket. Then, when the kids come back, they hit the log while singing Kaga Tito Sino. Anyway, this roughly translates to poop log poop, or else I will hit you with this stick. Don't poop herring because it's too salty. Poop turrons, traditional Spanish Christmas almond and sugar desserts, because they are sweet.
That sounds better.
How's that for an amazing Catalan Christmas tradition? I better left you speechless.
That's definitely in the weird department.
That is interesting. But what if you've been naughty? The pooping log may poop herring, a piece of charcoal, an onion, or a clove of garlic.
Oh, a garlic would be all right.
The pooping Tio is Catalan's equivalent to Santa Claus, as gifts in Spain are only exchanged on the 6th of January. There you go.
There you go. So that is wacky, but hilarious nonetheless.
Catalan, you do you.
Yeah, mate. I love
You've entertained us.
Yeah, well done, Catalan. Oh, God. On that note.
Speaking of pooping logs, we can finish out our informative discussion.
Informative and hilarious, no doubt. Hopefully.
Entertaining and comical.
Yeah.
Christmas traditions. Feel free to adopt any of these if you want to take them on and add them into your own.
Feel free to adopt all of them.
All of them. I want to see you in the next coming Christmases adopt all of these Christmas traditions.
Definitely.
All at once. Pete, it's been another great episode.
Always a pleasure, Al. Happy birthday, Jesus.
Happy birthday, Jesus.
Merry
Christmas to you, Peter. Merry Christmas to everybody out there listening. Thanks for your continued support. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Checking out.
See you later.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye. A big thank you goes out to our good friend Dave Petrie of Off the Wall Sounds, who has been a huge help, and Dave kindly created our theme tune, as well as worked on the sound design and mixing of this episode. You can find Dave at his website, offworldsounds.com, and on the gram at offworldsounds. Thanks, Dave.